Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you.
That is not the end of the speech. You're welcome to, I think most of you belong to Kingston anyway, but if you don't, welcome to Kingston, welcome to Parkdale Library. It is a library with the happiest, the smilingest, the most knowledgeable staff within the city. I can say that to Trish because she's in charge of all the libraries. So on behalf of the crime readers of Kingston, it gives me great pleasure to welcome one of Australia's most successful, award-winning and popular authors, Kerry Greenwood. Kerry has... Now don't clap every time I mention her name. Kerry has published more than 40 books in a number of literary genres, including drama, historical novels, science fiction, short stories and young adult works. But it is an author of 2 popular best-selling crime fiction series. Then in particular we welcome her to Parkdale tonight. What a great place for a murder.
I think so.
Don't leave your seats. As a creator of the elegant 1920s sleuth Phryne Fisher and contemporary crime-solving baker extraordinaire Corinna Chapmans, we are privileged to be the first audience to see the latest title unveiled, hot off the press, just for Kingston. It's not due to be released until the end of the month. So we certainly are privileged and very fortunate. This being the 17th adventure in the Phryne Fisher mystery series, Murder on a Midsummer Night. It is an adventure set in 1929. It's in Melbourne, investigates a St Kilda murder, a lost child, and a question of inheritance. Special thanks to publishers Allen and Unwin for making this latest book available, and to Ben's Books in Bentley for coming along to give fans the opportunity to purchase copies. And I can see that a number of you have already taken that opportunity. We'd like to have had the book sale take place in here, but they're not special guests and they can't get in the room. The City of Kingston is very proud of its library service and recognises the critical role it plays in promoting learning and literacy throughout the municipality. As well as being able to purchase a copy tonight or win one as a costume prize, which will be awarded by our distinguished guest, you can, of course, borrow this and all of Kerry's books from the library service, but you can only borrow them when you come in and show that you've already bought the book. Well, that's the way it goes. Anyway, with that, I'm delighted to hand you over to our special guest, author Kerry Greenwood.
You wouldn't like a job, would you? You'd make a wonderful publicist. Hello, my name is Kerry Greenwood. I write all sorts of things. And what I'm thinking of doing is just giving you a brief sketch of how I ended up as a published author, which no one is more unlikely. No story is more peculiar. I would not have got away with this story. An editor would have said, "Oh, surely, Kerry." And so I was born in Footscray. My father was a wharfie, and I started off very poor, which has great advantages. It doesn't feel like it at the time, but it does later because, for instance, if I buy a new book and crack it open, a new hardback, and you can smell it's new, and it's just such a buzz. If I'd been buying hardback books since I was a child, I wouldn't get such a lot of fun out of things. Anyway, so because of that, my mother, who was a highly intelligent and extremely good housekeeper, taught me how to cook. Mainly because with 4 children and a husband who worked shift work, she needed some help. So we all had tasks to do. I am the eldest child. May I have a show of hands? Eldest sisters, eldest children, aha. We are the high achievers. We also are the horribly stressed. And according to my sister Janet, we have the neurotic need for control slightly greater than that of Joseph Stalin. And you're in a very bad position if you're the eldest sister and you're required to look after your rotten siblings. I've always been convinced personally that that's why I never wanted to have children. Been there, done that, had the T-shirt thrown up upon. Anyway, you are in a bad position because you are required to look after the little rat bags. They do not wish to be looked after. They do not wish to be stopped from, as it might be, feeding snails to the baby. And that's true. Or painting the dog with blue shoe paint, which was also true. I always wondered when my little brother rolled a toilet roll out the top window at my mother's house and found out he wanted to find out how long it was. So it was really quite logical in a way. But in any case, whatever they do wrong is going to be my fault. But they're not going to obey me like they obey my mother. So it's not a nice situation, but it does give you an exaggerated sense of responsibility. So my deal at my house was that I had to stuff everybody into the bath, get them out of the bath undrowned, mop up the bathroom, put everybody into their jammies and put them to bed and tell them a story. And so that was my job, apart from my expertise at making gravy, which has stood by me so well in the later years. So I had to do that, and I found that I had a problem because my next sister is only 18 months younger than me. Then there's a gap, there were two small children. And of course, my little brother, being the only boy, had a louder voice and much more influence than the rest of us. So whatever story I read was going to bore one of the audience or was going to annoy the rest of the audience. I was getting very cross with them because they, for instance, would not listen to my little brother's favourite book. You know how it is when you're telling stories to children? They've got a favourite story and they know it by heart, every single comma. And if you get it wrong, what happens? There are screams, there are shrieks, there are tantrums. Nobody goes to sleep. And so consequently I found that after the hop-on-pop incident, when the book ended up out of the window, because my sister Amanda could no longer bear hearing it one more time, and we ritually cursed the name of Dr. Seuss, poor man, we decided that I decided what I would do is I would tell a simple story. So what's the simplest form of story? It's a fairy story. Every culture has them, I later found out. And they're the simplest story you can have. And how do they start?
Once upon a time.
How do they end? Exactly. In between you can say anything you like. You are not bound by the rules of causation. Because if you find yourself, so to speak, storied into a corner, you can just say, and when they woke up, they were back on the road. And if you are telling tales to children, which I recommend because it's very stringent, they are the nastiest critics in the universe, and if they're bored, they'll tell you they're bored by saying, I'm bored, this is not a funny story, at the top of their voice, you know. So what you want to do is you include one of the children as the hero or the protagonist, and you provide them with I used to just pick one of the children by lot after the serious scrum, shrieking and hitting people that happened to choose who was going to be the story. And then we would tell a story that said, this is where Amanda leaves her mother's house in order to find the answer to a riddle, to make the king laugh, or in the case since most of my audience were female, make sure that the princess in stainless steel armour goes to rescue the captive prince in his tower. And I didn't realise it at the time because I was very young, but what I was doing was actually gender bending, but I didn't know that. What I was doing was what all authors have to do, which is to please their audience. And if you don't please your audience, you don't get back to read The Lord of the Rings again, which is what you want to do. You have to sit there telling tales to rotten kids. It's not as though I was fond of children or anything. I'd hate you to think that. So consequently, I got very good at telling stories, and I got very good at remembering where I stopped, because instead of starting a new story every night, you'll perceive it's a lot easier to tell a saga, a really long story, in serials of 10 minutes a night. And if you forget where you stopped, and you start at the wrong place, what happens? What happened to the dragon, they say. And you think, dragon, what dragon? Oh, the dragon. Tell me about the dragon. And by the time you get back again, more valuable time has gone past. So consequently, I got good at remembering where I stopped. I got good at carrying a long thread in my head. And I used whatever I had lying around, whatever I read, whatever I was doing, I just stuck it in the story, because a fairy tale can encompass practically anything. Heroes, villains, dragons. We didn't kill the dragon. Dragons are an endangered species. We went into an alliance with the dragon, and we had a castle heating industry, which I still it was a good idea.